The 2024 Parisolympics are underway, and I'm here to talk about the big issues plaguing Team USA as they head into Olympic play. Before I do that, please, if you're new to this channel or just watching a video of ours for the first time, subscribe to the channel, like this video if you enjoy it, give us a comment below. All interaction helps massively as we try to grow our channel. We do these short weekly videos where we break down different topics in sports, but we also have a full podcast where we give away merch, cash, and jerseys weekly. So please go on there. You must be subscribed and you must comment on the video in order to be eligible to win. But let's jump into the topic, as we've had a couple of exhibition matches that we've seen, 5 in fact, that the USA played as they headed into Olympic play here in Paris. And the one I'm going to start talking about happened about a week ago, and that was Team USA defeating South Sudan 101-100. South Sudan led the majority of the game, and they took a double-digit lead into the second half, took a double-digit lead late into the third quarter, and it wasn't until late in that third quarter that Team USA ended up taking the lead back. Team USA did lead for most of the fourth quarter, and about 3 minutes to go, took about a 7-point lead. We get under 2 minutes, about a minute and a half to play. USA is up 99-92. Looks like the game is at hand. And then South Sudan goes on a little run. They score on 3 consecutive possessions. They cut it to a 1-point game, and they have the ball with under a half minute to play and a chance to shock the world. And they hit a 3 to go ahead. And so all of a sudden, we blink. Team USA is now down, needing a bucket. Now, LeBron James was able to score for Team USA, drove to the basket, going to his left, scooped it up, pretty easy little layup look, finished it, USA back on top, timeout South Sudan, and they advanced the ball up the floor for one last chance to win the game. Now, that last possession, the USA was extremely fortunate. Extremely fortunate. Carlick Jones, one of the guards for South Sudan, blew by Drew Holiday with about under 8 seconds to play. And he had a really, really good look. Unfortunately for South Sudan, he took too long to shoot it. I mean, he was inside of 10 feet, very close to the paint. And by taking that long to shoot it, it allowed Anthony Davis to come over and contest the shot. If he had shot it immediately and not hung in the air as long, it would have been a wide open look. Regardless, the fact that AD was forced to come over and block the shot or try to block the shot left the backside rebound wide open. And after kind of a fortunate break for the U.S., where Jones took too long, they got another fortunate break. Wenyen Gabriel, the former Kentucky Wildcat, went up out of nowhere, had a wide open putback slam to give South Sudan the lead. If he finishes it, they're probably up by one with 2 seconds to go, maybe. And instead, 2 players, another player other than Gabriel, was going up to slam it as well. They collided. The ball got knocked away from Gabriel. And so it was not really even an attempt. Got knocked out of his hands before the shot. Another rebound by Gabriel after that, and he had another chance to win it. And again, Team USA gets extremely fortunate because Anthony Edwards hacked, and I mean hacked, Wenyen Gabriel going back up. On the replay, you can see Anthony Edwards looking around like, is anybody going to call that? Because he hit him right on the arm going up. No call. Team USA escapes with a 1-point victory. And look, I understand, right? Was this an exhibition game? Absolutely. Did it mean anything at all to the United States? No, it meant nothing. Did it mean everything to South Sudan? Yes, it was their Super Bowl or their World Cup final or their World Series, whatever. It meant everything to them. Would have been a massive, massive win for their country. But all that said, the United States should have lost the game, and they played everybody that they have on their roster with the exception of Kevin Durant, who did not play in any of the exhibition matchups with injury. And so you have a game that is played, in all fairness to South Sudan, very similarly probably in terms of rotational minutes to the way it's going to be played against teams of their caliber in the Olympics, right? Like maybe they would have gone more to the starters, but it's not like the starters were playing well, right? They started the second half with the bench in, and the bench actually played better than the starters up to that point. Now the starters closed the game, or most of the starters closed the game and won it for them, but it's not as though this was like a vastly different rotation where we're playing the bench guys more minutes than the starters or anything like that, right? And so when you look at it from that perspective and the fact that we're playing against the South Sudan, who legitimately has a couple of NBA players on their roster, former NBA players, really. I think one who currently plays in the NBA. And it just should not be remotely close. South Sudan is the lowest ranked team that qualified for the Olympics, right? So they're 33rd in the world. USA is obviously first. You look at Team USA, they have a combined 30 NBA Finals appearances between the 12 of them. 15 NBA championships, 7 MVPs, 59 All-NBA first teams, and 27 All-NBA defensive teams. So just plethora of accomplishments in the greatest basketball league on the planet. In their careers, those 12 guys have earned a combined $2.5 billion in salary playing in the NBA, just on contracts to play, right? So to play in the greatest league in the world, they're making that much money. If you extend it out, beyond just right now into their current contracts, it's going to be over $4 billion. Then you look at South Sudan, right? Already told you they're the worst ranked team in the Olympics who qualified for men's basketball. They've only been a country for 13 years. And I heard this crazy factoid the other day on the Carton Show that they don't have a single indoor basketball facility in the entire country. Not one. And that's a country where the average temperature is over 90 degrees. That's ridiculous. Now, obviously, the guys on this team are not, most of them are not living in South Sudan, right? It's not like they're over there and they're forced to train outside, right? A lot of these guys are borderline pros, right? Or they're European or outside of the United States pros, right? They have 4 guys who have played in the NBA at a given point. Mariel Shayok, who went to Wichita State, he's played 4 NBA games. Carlick Jones, the guy who took the last shot, or the first shot of the last possession for South Sudan, he's played in 12. Wenyen Gabriel, the former Kentucky Wildcat, 150 games. And then JT Thor, who is the one who hit the 3 to put South Sudan up. He's played in the most, 165 NBA games. He played for the Hornets last year, albeit not a ton of minutes. None of those guys averaged over 13 minutes in their career or have averaged over that, right? So these are rotational to borderline pros, right? Like G League, two-way contract type guys playing against the best players in the world. And that's why they were a 45-point underdog. Yeah, that's right, a 45-point underdog. I don't even know what the money line would be in that situation. But I can tell you this. If you asked most basketball people if that team played the U.S. 100 times, I think there's a pretty general consensus that the USA would win 100 out of 100, 99 at the very least, right? So it's like a 1 in 100 type deal that they win that game, maybe more than that. But one of the most concerning things that I saw when watching this game was the Team USA lack of defense, right? Keep in mind, this is a 10-minute quarter game, right? They're playing 40 total minutes. It's not a 48-minute game like in the NBA, right? This is a length of an American college basketball game. And they gave up 100 points to the 33rd ranked team in the world, right? And you could chalk that up to lack of effort, sure, against an inferior team in a meaningless game, absolutely. But what about late in the game? What about when it was 99-92 and you think that the Team USA, who had LeBron in the game and Steph Curry in the game and was trying to win, do you think they were like, it's all right if we lose to South Sudan, we're not really going to try on defense? I just don't see how that in any world would be true, right? Could you imagine the backlash that would come if Team USA lost that game? It would be horrific. They'd have to deal with that all the time, answering these questions all the way up until the gold medal, assuming they won. And if they lost in the Olympics, it would be even worse. Like, what is going on with USA basketball all of a sudden, right? So, that's my problem is into the game, you're not going to convince me, regardless of how the game went, that they're not trying, or when they got down, they weren't trying. And yet on the final 3 of the 4 final possessions, and it should have been 4 of the 4, South Sudan scored, right? When the Team USA was trying to get stops and needed stops the most, they could not get them, right? And on the final possession, it really should have been a putback slam and then should have been 2 shots. So I don't really count that as a stop either. And they get bailed out and win. Now, if this game was a one-off occurrence, I would understand, right? Chalk it up to lack of effort. Chalk it up to the fact that you don't expect South Sudan, despite having some guys who are, have some talent, not NBA talent, but talent, chalk that up to just overlooking them. It happens. But then they go out the next game a couple days later and they play Germany, right? And Germany is much better in terms of their world ranking than South Sudan. They're the third ranked team in the world. But the USA comes out and they win it 113 to 111, and it's the exact same story. They trailed a lot of the game. They trailed in the fourth quarter by multiple possessions, and they squeaked out a win late, albeit in much less dramatic fashion. But again, no defense was played. 111 points given up to Germany in a 40-minute game. 111, right? Germany had 6 guys score in double figures. They had 3 guys score over 21 points in the game. They shot 58% from the field in that 40 minutes and 44% from 3. South Sudan, by the way, shot over 50% from 3 in that game. Again, is it an exhibition game? Yes. But would you think after damn near losing to South Sudan and having that scare that the United States would at least come in and be pissed off and say, yes, we're not going to go out and get injured going into the Olympics. We're not going to, kill ourselves trying to win the game by 50. But you would think that that was a wake-up call. And they're going to come out and be like, okay, enough messing around. We're going to make a statement here. This is a statement game. We're going to come out. We're going to jump on them. We're going to go up by 20. And we're going to show everybody in the world that if you step on the floor with us and we are locked in mentally, you have no shot, right? That's what I thought was going to happen. It absolutely did not. That's not what happened. In fact, quite the opposite. It looked like we weren't just as equal to Germany, right? And that's concerning to me, right? It's concerning to me that we struggled defensively in both matchups. It's concerning to me that we did not put either of these teams away and trailed in the fourth quarter. It's concerning to me that our team is, has all this talent, and yet we're winning these games by 1 and 2 points. Again, albeit I understand they're exhibition games. Say what you want about it, but I just think competitors are competitors, and you're not going to not try to win a game just because it doesn't count for the Olympics, right? Like, everybody's trying to win. And you might say, well, Germany was third in the world, right? Look at their roster. Their starting 5. Dennis Schroeder. He's 30 years old. He's basically a bench guy in the NBA at this point. At his best in his career, he was a solid starting point guard on a pretty good team. So he was a good pro, but he's older now. He's definitely not a starter anymore, and he's not. We saw him on the Lakers. I think it was a couple years ago. Really looked like he was declining. Right, Dominique Theis, former NBA starter. He was a good player for the Celtics for a little while. He barely plays at all in the NBA now. He's 32 years old, not even really a rotation guy. The only other guy who's played in the NBA is Franz Wagner. And Wagner plays currently for the Magic. Just got a pretty small deal relative to a lot of guys. He's like a 7th man, hustle guy off the bench. And then you have the other 2, Andreas Obst and Johannes Voigtmann, neither of which have any NBA experience. So there's just no way you can convince me that this team, has a bunch of guys who should be competing with the USA. And you can't argue either when you have a lot of those guys who do play currently in the NBA and just aren't that great, that this team is so cohesive and they play together all the time. They don't play together any more than the NBA guys do. Maybe a few of the bench guys, sure. But to me, it should never, ever be this close. And then you throw in the fact that we have all seen the videos, if you're following Team USA, of Cooper Flagg torching the United States and scoring on all the top guys. This is a high school kid, right? We saw the videos of that. And again, I understand that was practice. Yes. But it's a bad look when it keeps happening over and over. Now, is the United States going to win the gold medal? Probably, right? They're the prohibited favorites. They have the most talent. They should, right? But if in the group stage, we're playing teams, like Germany, like South Sudan, and we're in close games in the exact same fashion, and they're tight in the fourth quarter, I'm going to start to be seriously, seriously concerned, because at that point, it's becoming a pattern. And if you do that in all these games, when you get to the knockout stages where it's one and done and you could lose, it's not a 7-game series like the NBA, right? One game and you lose, you're out. You play with fire enough, you're going to get burned. They better come out and start playing defense and lock in. And maybe they will. Maybe I'm just overreacting, and maybe the group stage they come in and they say, okay, this is the Olympics. It's for real now. And they just smack everybody. But we didn't smack everybody in the last Olympics, right? We haven't been smacking everybody for a while. And so it's a little bit concerning. And lastly, I think part of it is you look at the roster, right? This roster, already, I dislike the idea of putting Tyrese Halliburton on the team, who, by the way, has barely even played in the exhibition games, right? Then you have Derek White added to the team. Two guys who are not top 12 NBA players, not even close, in my opinion. Definitely not Derek White. I think Halliburton's quite overrated as well. I understand he made an all-NBA team this year. And you have Jalen Brunson, the leading scorer in the NBA playoffs, and Jaylen Brown, the Eastern Conference and Finals MVP of the NBA champion Boston Celtics. Both of those guys sitting at home, and Tyrese Halliburton and Derek White playing, neither of whom will contribute at any major level. Why not have those other guys? I didn't understand that. And then you look at the age factor, right? 7 of the 12 guys on the NBA roster, on the Team USA roster rather, are 30 years or older. 4 of them are 34 years or older. And of the 5 that are younger than 30, one of them is Tyrese Halliburton, who I don't think is going to play. So we don't have a lot of younger guys. And you kind of have nobody. You don't have a ton of guys like in that middling range. Like even Anthony Edwards is like 22. He looked too young out there. It's a very weird mix, right? It's kind of odd the way this team is built. We don't have a lot of the guys kind of in that 25, 26, 27, 28 prime range. And that is concerning. The average age of Team USA is over 30 years old. That is concerning to me based on what we've seen defensively, based on what we've seen from other teams. I saw LeBron was having turnover issues against South Sudan, right? I just didn't like what I saw. We'll see if they end up turning it on in the Olympics. Hopefully they do. That's all I got for you here on Team USA. Let me know if you agree in the comment section below. Am I overreacting about Team USA? Or do you agree with me, and do you think Team USA is going to struggle in the Olympics? Let me know in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.